I recall composing this Native America Calling theme 20 years ago. Wow, time flies. My name is Brent Michael Davids, and I'm a concert composer and a film score composer, mostly creating written music for string quartet, orchestra, chorus, modern dance, ballet, theater, opera, film and video, and occasionally songwriting. And sometimes I invent my own musical instruments and teach. I'm proud to say in the year 2016, I'll be celebrating 40 years as a composer, writing my first work for concert band back in 1976. A lot of music can happen in 40 years, so please let me share just a small sample of it with you. In 1989, my mother suggested that I try to make a flute out of glass, and my glassblower friend Michael Wheeler suggested I upgrade that idea to quartz crystal. So we invented a soprano and a bass flute from quartz. But as this was my first flute, I then had to learn how to play it. So I started performing a lot with it. I even joined singer-songwriter Keith Secola as a flute player, becoming a member of his wild band of Indians, and performed on songs like Indian Cars, 103, and Time Flies Like an Arrow, Fruit Flies Like a Banana. I was performing on my new flute as much as I possibly could in those days. One of my important collaborations as a performer was with a most brilliant guitar player, who is now a close personal friend, Joe Myers. Together we recorded quartz flute and guitar songs, such as this one called Iron Pony. In 1990, I composed a song to help empower American Indian youth to make healthy choices for an organization in Phoenix, Arizona called Indian Rehabilitation Incorporated. So I wrote the music and lyrics, gathered some young singers from around my neighborhood, and the solo singer was Grammy Award-winning Joanne Shenandoah. It's called The Heartbeat Song. My friend Barb Landis from the Cumberland County Historical Society works with the Carlisle Indian School Collections in Pennsylvania, and they were planning a Remembering Carlisle Indian School powwow in the year 2000. So I composed this song for that occasion called We Are the Dawn, and invited the wonderful Anishinaabe singer Annie Humphrey to sing it. Before I composed music for film, I created scores for ballet and modern dance. I started out as a recording engineer for several dance companies, who all needed music transferred onto reel-to-reel audio tapes. Well, a member of Ballet Arizona knew a choreographer in New York City who was looking for new music. So I composed this modern dance score called Moon of the Falling Leaves for choreographer Peter Pucci and the Joffrey Ballet. Sometimes people wonder why I compose written music when so much of American Indian music is not written down on paper. Well, there's basically 4 benefits as I see it. One is that I can send my printed music all over the world, and in most countries there are musicians that can read that music. It's kind of funny, but my music has toured across many countries where I've never been. Two is that I can compose music beyond my own ability level as a performer. Like, I can create written music that's too difficult for me to play, and there's always great performers out there who can play it. So I'm not restricted by my own limitations as a performer, and I can even compose music for instruments that I don't play at all. Three is that I can compose music for many, many musicians to play all at once. Having printed sheet music and a conductor allows many hundreds of musicians to perform my music all together at the same time. And four is the ability to compose music that's sometimes very complex. For example, I could write down a melody on paper, then rewrite that same melody backwards, and then overlay both forward and backward melodies together in a single musical phrase, hearing them both simultaneously. What you're hearing now is my first composition for string quartet. It was commissioned in 1994 by the Kronos Quartet called The Singing Woods, featuring the traditional Apache violin that my Apache friend Chesley Wilson made for me. This composition sounds almost electronic, but all the sounds you hear are coming from the acoustic instruments themselves, with no electronic sounds. I got these sounds by having the string players use handmade bows, where the horsehair was replaced with other materials like silk, leather, and velvet. I've composed 5 string quartets now, but I'm especially proud of this one that I wrote for the award-winning Moreau Quartet. To explain, I'm afflicted with an ear condition known as tinnitus or tinnitus, and I hear a high-pitched tone in my ear all the time, non-stop. So whenever I want to listen to music, for example, I hear this tone ringing through the entire performance. I got the idea to compose a piece of music that could illustrate this condition for an audience, letting the audience experience what it's like to hear a tinnitus tone just for a little while. So this is my Tinnitus Quartet. My career expanded in 1999 with my first symphony. Proud to be an American Indian composer, I wanted to combine the orchestra with something indigenous, so I chose the powwow as my theme. What you're hearing now is my Powwow Symphony for MC and orchestra. It's a day in the life of a powwow in about 40 minutes, where the Master of Ceremonies actually MCs the orchestra just like at a powwow. But it all happens inside the concert hall, and my MC of choice was Sammy Tonkiai.
We sure have a lot of good-looking people here tonight. A lot of good-looking women. But of course we know that. Out of respect, the Lakota woman walks 3 paces behind her man. And out of respect, the Apache woman walks 3 paces to the right of her man. And out of respect, the Kiowa women walk 3 paces to the left of their man. But those Pima women, they walk all over their man.
As an American Indian composer, I try to blend Western music with American Indian music together in ways that are not simplistic or cliché. I actually write the American Indian music down in Western notation and integrate that into the music in sophisticated ways. I also think that American Indians are underrepresented in the world of Western music, so I work to bring a more native sensibility into the concert music scene whenever I can. I spent lots of volunteer time teaching Native youth the art and skills of composing. I started a training program called Native American Composer Apprentice Project in Arizona that is still continuing today. And the program was awarded a presidential honor by First Lady Michelle Obama in 2011. My new teaching program is called CANOE, an acronym that stands for Composer Apprentice National Outreach Endeavor. In fact, my recent students from the small towns of Bowler and Gresham, Wisconsin, will have their first compositions performed this November by the Civic Symphony of Green Bay at the historic Mayer Theater. When my dear friend and composer colleague, Dr. Lewis Wayne Ballard, passed away in 2007, he left incomplete his final work for piano and orchestra. It was then that piano virtuoso Manuele Arciuli approached me to complete Dr. Ballard's unfinished composition. So you're listening now to my orchestra composition honoring my longtime friend, Dr. Lewis Ballard, called Indiana Concerto. Back in 2009, I composed a work for the South Dakota Symphony Orchestra featuring the celebrated Lakota drum group, the Porcupine Singers. I wrote their Lakota song down in written notation and mixed it into the symphony like any other section of the orchestra, like the brass section or the string section. So the Porcupine Singers followed the printed music and the conductor as they performed with the orchestra. So this is my composition for drum group and orchestra called Black Hills Alowan. Many years ago, the award-winning composer Chen Yi introduced my work to the Grammy-winning chorus Chanticleer, and I began to compose more music for voices. The composition includes 3 different American Indian singing styles, together with Western singing. This composition is called The Uncovered Wagon. My largest work for voices is the 2014 opera, The Purchase of Manhattan. It was commissioned by the Lenape Center in New York City, and the opera was premiered in Manhattan. Through singing, it tells the story of New York's hidden beginning from the perspective of Manhattan's first inhabitants, the Lenape. And the music is scored for orchestra, Native American flute, 3 opera soloists, a Western chorus, and traditional American Indian singers.
Though made to leave by force and hunger, their title never ended.
As a film score composer, I trained at Sundance Institute with several Hollywood film composers. Later, I would apprentice in London with film composer Stephen Warbeck, who won an Oscar for his music to the film Shakespeare in Love. What you're hearing now is music I wrote for the old 1920 silent movie, The Last of the Mohicans. 2006, two filmmakers made a film about Carlisle Indian School athletes. Many Indian children were ripped away from their homes and sent to the Carlisle Indian boarding school. The musical score I composed for this film is sometimes very dark, especially this segment, when the children are being shipped off to Carlisle on a train. This track is called Train to Carlisle. After completing this film score, the music won a silver medal for excellence in original scoring at the Park City Film Music Festival in Utah. This music was for a 90-minute animated feature called Valor's Kids. Not all my film scores are for large orchestra. This is an example of a smaller, intimate musical score composed for only 5 instruments: quartz crystal flute, banjo, contrabassoon, harmonium, and musical saw. It's for a TV documentary called Living with the Land. In 2003, I was hired as the associate composer on the movie Dreamkeeper, a Hallmark miniseries for ABC television. I was also the source music director responsible for recording the American Indian songs used in the musical score. This is a traditional song recorded for the movie, sung by Nikonis women singers. The orchestra was later added to the recording, and this version was recorded on a CD by the Nikonis women singers. Thank you for listening to a sampling of my musical career. I'm honored to receive this Lifetime Achievement Award from the Indian Summer Music Awards and the Indian Summer Festival. Thank you so very much. I'd like to leave you with this offering. It's from my film score for a new animated and live-action film by producer Peter Jemison. This is the movie's main theme, sung again by Grammy Award-winning Joanne Shenandoah, with lyrics by Avery Jimerson and with the original score by me, Brent Michael Davids. Thank you so much.